Is it working? Is it working? Oh, it's me on a large screen. I can see. Hit that. Hit that. It did it. We did it. We did it. Sorry, just checking that we did it. Yep. Yeah. Yo. How's the audio levels? Levels. Look, all right. Levels. All right. Where were we? Yo. Pine linked. Yo. Here's a little diagram for all things. Time is this is the start of a project, moving forward to the end of the project. This is where we give up. Here. Why the rewrite? Yeah, I've got it. Oh, I should have a speed dial. Why the rewrite? Look, this is like, it's like a soap opera. The idea is not to be finished. The idea is for the infinitely long process. Oh, big news. Not my news, but I was on the internet today and I saw that the Cherno got a job. And he's given his engine, well, he's taking his engine to a AI robotics company. Isn't that interesting? Actually had a plan. Well, I didn't do anything else after yesterday. I thought I would do it. I just tried to do it on stream, just to get this little instance renderer going. How hard could getting that going go? How hard could that be? So we had this render instance, which is a strange name for this file because it's really render batches. Another cool thing about Odin, you can just change the name of this. Render batch. Instancing, we'll just call it that. So we got the create thing, which kind of does some stuff. It does primitive instance create, and then we were kind of working on the draw thing. We're going to do the bind proc. But at first I figure we need a shader and then some automated updating of the shader. How are we all today? How's it going? How goes it? How goes? We have a basic vertex shader, which we might just make a zero duplicate button. Basic instanced vertex shader. So we can have these all line up with our layouts. We did do something where we had our locations. Location 6, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the the vertex thingamabobs. Is it in mesh? What do we got? Yeah, there. Attrib 0, position, normal, text core, tangent, color, which are the mesh vertex stuff, and then layout, location. I don't know why it's 6. I think this is a hangover from the last version. You guys like like comedians. That's pretty funny, actually. Why the rewrite? Well, I just wanted a language that worked better with Linux. This, how do you do this? Can you put a map for a model instance? And do we have a debug draw.virt? Is there a debug instance.virt? A instance model is what I called that. A model instance. A instance model. I don't know about this notation. A attribute. And then we need layout location 10 in vec4 a instance color or tint color. Did we do it in this? A instance color. We didn't, but you know, that's a debug draw. And then we need to do some, so we got this uniform map UMVP, which we won't use. Oh, we do need the MVP, which is now calculating on the CPU side for some reason. So this can be a instance model, right? Is that just the same thing? I'm not even using any of this stuff right now. Looking at instanced, it is view projection. MVP. Well, it's not really, it's just view projection. View projection. View projection. And then I guess the model map for model matrix. I don't know how to write the C code stuff anymore. Equals the view projection times a instance model. And then do you need to do times vec4, or is that just that? GL position equals this. So that just sets that. I can't remember how this works in thing. No. Come on, Alex, you got to admit that the search and just about everything to do with it in Windows is just a bummer. It's a massive bummer. So we need, we'll look at PBR vertex shader. This takes, oh yeah, it's complicated. Okay, if enable instancing, then the model matrix equals the instance model matrix. So we just grab that as a map4. Then we get the fragment position, which is this thing. It's interesting how it's just different. Map4 model matrix equals a instance model. Then the frag, why do we do that? GL position, okay. What is frag position? That's our output vec3. Okay, out vec frag position, this thing here, equals vec3 of the model matrix, which is just the instance thing, times vec4 a position. Yeah, so that's still the same. Do we set GL position? This is done view projection times the model matrix times this vec4 a position. But we need to make sure we do this because I was doing something else. And we need to out color. Okay, so that's that. We also need out Vic for out. I don't know where I got this. Real men have two renderers. Good thing I'm not a real man. Real men write in two different languages at the same time. Tint color. Does anyone else write in an American? I got like what's the word? I got like conditioned to write the American spelling of color because I kept getting spell check errors in like writer or something when I was working in uni. That's how we spell it in New Zealand. But I was just like, so out tint color equals the a instance tint color, and you need semicolons. Yeah, so we're kind of just, this stuff is kind of important. This stuff is not really doing anything. This is like vertex color. Basic instanced, and then we need basic frag that one, and this also wants the invec for out tint color, and then the da-di-da da-do-do-dee-dee, we will say albedo times equals out tint color. I don't know why that's important for this test. It's not really. Whoops. So we'll close basic so we don't get confused. Basic instance. Yeah. Debug draw instance, VS tint color. Oh, vertex shader. So I changed it. Changed the convention there. Debug draw instance, debug draw instance dot fragment shader. That's just that. Okay. So when we load the shaders, we will try saying here let's shader load, and we'll load SRC Genie res shaders, and it was called basic instance dot vert. It's basically this. That's interesting. Basic, I got the wrong one. Basic instance dot frag, and we can call it it's like basic instinct. Basic instanced basic instinct. So this loads the shader into the shader map thing here. We didn't, however, when we did shader load. Oh yeah, that's another cool thing I found is that the bindings for OpenGL and Odin have a function called GL load shaders file, and it does the shader loading and the loading of the source shaders and stuff for you, so you don't need to write those things that are pretty generic. And we kind of need to here. It's like we actually kind of want to. Oh yeah, there's GL-get. There's a thing called GL-get uniforms from program also, which like caches the uniforms, and this is in the GL helpers library as well. So you get the GL uniforms, and then when you say you want to set an int or something, first it will look up that location. Yeah, it'll do it via this map of uniform names. So there's that saves you doing, you know, like getting the location. But it's kind of cool that those helpers are just there. So I'm thinking I want update proc, which is a procedure that takes in a pointer to a shader. Because I think that's what this is here. I've made it. Feel free to ignore a technical question. Okay. Oh, this is a pointer to a proc with a pointer to a shader. Feel free to ignore the question, but otherwise, are there any pros of having the chat on the screen? Always wondered why some have and some have not. It's mainly for like, because I often cut devlogs out of these streams, and then it's just nice to, sometimes there's funny things or interesting back and forths. So I just have it there, and I can just pull that little chat frame and chuck it in the middle of the screen, so it gives context to what's going on in the stream, on the devlog. I don't know why real streamers do it. Is it just like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's for VODs. So yeah, this thing inside the shader, I put this thing called update proc, which is a function pointer which takes a shader. So we can then have a thing called shaders update, which will go for shader in gshaders map. So this does two things. This is like the key value. So this is, we don't need the key, but we do need the shader, like that, which is a string to shader, yeah. And then you can say shader dot update proc and send in the shader, but that won't work because you need to make this as a pointer and then send it like that. Perfect, no errors. But why we got errors? This doesn't need to be a pointer to a procedure, it just needs to be a procedure. Yeah, right. And this needs that. What did I do there? Expected a statement got syntax. Sorry, what? What if I made this equal to nil? Is it supposed to be a pointer? Am I wrong? Instance. Render instancing. This, I just put like a proc like this. Because in the editor, I have a thing called an editor window, and that just is a draw proc. And that works. So what did I do wrong in the syntax here? I did expect the statement got that. Oh. Update proc is a proc that takes in a shader. Oh. Do you need it like that? No. Can't that just be like that? Can you do this like a definition? Have I got one too many thingamabobs? Oh, I deleted a thing. My bad. Daisy Trains 2. Good to know. I've not been in here for 6 months. It'll be interesting. Daisy Trains. Oh yeah, it's Daisy Trains 0.5. I don't like the game has no renderer anymore. Not using AI. To be fair, well, some of the programming, some of the harder programming stuff, like some of the some things I do ask questions. I try not to as much as possible. I do ask Copilot some stuff when I'm like doing like things like this world serializer. I like to ask it questions like, I want a binary loader, save a loader, but it needs to be flexible. So it's like, oh, you could do it in chunks. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's not a bad idea. And then sometimes it helps with like, it's like a good duck to talk to sometimes. Also things like this, like how do you take some array and turn it into bytes? It's like, oh, there's a thing called slice to bytes. Like, oh yeah, cool. So I can say equals nil. Sorry, that was not very, I don't want to use AI on any kind of like art generation or anything like that. But when you're not like God programmer, like not good at math and all that. Update proc equals update proc. Okay. So this is just going to allow us to be able to do like a on this for update shader, update proc shader. Or we could say if shader dot update proc does not equal nil, then do it, because I'm not going to set some of them up yet, because we want to just sort of see that we're updating this basic instinct, and we can send in a shader basic instance update, and it's gonna be like, what is that? That doesn't exist. So we'll put it down here, and these are like built-in shader update procedures. In other words, AI make you dumb. AI often is, yeah, that's the thing, because like first I'm like, oh, I could just ask the AI this thing, and then you're like, just try and think it through, because maybe you'll get there. It definitely, I like it for like, oh, what's the syntax for that thing? How does OpenGL do this weird thing? Things that would take you a while to like look up. But when it comes to like math things, like how do you take out the position from a matrix or something, I'm like, I don't know. Shader basic instance update is a proc that takes in the shader, which is the shader. Now, does that work? Yeah, so the reason to also do these function pointers is so that the game can create shaders that the engine doesn't know about and doesn't care about. All it does is loops through and updates their shaders at the shader update stage. And this kind of needs... This is where we kind of need like a camera to know what camera we're using, so we can get the camera view projection matrix. So this Genie thing has, does it have the default camera and the active camera? Genie camera, camera init, camera 3D set active, core.active camera equals camera. So this is yeah, so if we've got a model viewer and the model viewer doesn't use this camera, so we may want to use something else. But for the main renderer, we I don't know whether we like just get this. Is this ever used? Find all references. I know the button more than I know Shift Alt 12. Game camera. Okay, so this camera set active the main camera. So for now, I hate saying for now, but for now, Genie shaders. Do we have a thing we can say cam equals core dot, I think core dot active camera 3D. That's a strange place to put it, but it's pointed to a camera. Assert cam does not equal nil. No active camera selected. I think the best position to be is to have a few years experience and more before AIs came. Yeah. Well, I think what it did do, because I did start and I did a couple of years without any AI, and then the AI came out and it was kind of bad, so it wasn't helpful. And then only in the last like little while it's actually gotten to be quite helpful in that, say like I've been learning Odin now, and I'll be like, well, how do you do the thing? And most of, even like 6 months ago, or 3 months ago, most of the different LLMs didn't know the syntax of Odin, and then a couple of them started to actually get it right. So you're saying in Odin, what's the way that you would, because Odin is a little bit like light on examples. But like once you start going, if you get into the mindset that the AI could just write it better than you, so just let the AI write it, then you're missing out. Because the whole point of doing a low-level game like this is that you're thinking that you might find like ways to make it unique or interesting or different or fast or performant, or like you might find, you're trying to find some magic in this low-level code. Because if you're of the idea that the low-level code, it doesn't matter, like all the game engines have already solved it, it's just all standard and generic, then don't do this kind of coding, I think. It's also interesting to do it like this instancing thing where like, oh, maybe everything in the game could be instanced, and then that's like a feature of the game, you know, because it's certainly not got any animations. Consider your font size for anyone not on a PC. Oh, sorry. My bad. Love the recent video about Robomo. Seemed like a fun, but thank you. Yeah, we're trying to get back on track after Robomo. That was sort of our last project where we actually did something. So the shader, where did our shader go? Instance.vertex. So this needs this view projection. Okay. Where were we? We're here, and we need to get the view projection matrix, right? So the cam has a projection matrix and a view matrix and a view projection matrix that it calculates each frame. And if we look at Genie, this happens editor begin frame, clock update in frame. Maybe the game does this itself. There's lots of dumb code inside the game. Game camera update. Okay, so if we do this, the camera update, and then we do the shader update at the beginning of the next frame, we're kind of a frame behind. But I don't know whether that's a big deal. So we need to get the shader set mat 4 is this thing. Shader. The uniform name is U view projection. And the value is the camera view projection matrix. Mega font. And cat sitting on the computer. Be right back, cat sitting. Cat sitting? Are you cat sitting or the cat is sitting? That might kind of be all that needs doing. Genie debug draw. So this thing here, when we do the actual draw world space, we get the core active cam. Why does it take that? Oh. And we get the shader, and we're doing the MVP here on one step. Cam view matrix, projection matrix type thing. For some reason, I was under the impression that, like, you look at this and you can send like a view and a projection and a model and then construct it on here, and you're like, oh, but I'm constructing it for every vertex. Whereas here, it's one calculation. But then you're like, how many vertices is it doing, and how fast is the GPU? Very fast. So this here we could make this step debug draw instance dot vert MVP UV projection. So why am I doing debug draw? Why are we doing? Oh, these are in the GL debug draw. MVP, UMVP. There is no UMVP. Oh, this is not the instanced one. So the debug drawing, only some of the things are instanced. Yeah. Okay. Put our shaders over here for now. Okay. We won't worry too much about that. So technically we do have this. We set the shader. That's all good. And then we need... So the instance shader is, you know, it could compile. Have we broken anything? Debug, does it build? Does it work? Log console, loading platform, Genie, loading debug draw, loading shader error, loading basic instance. Basic, oh, I spelled it wrong. Yeah. Isn't instanced. That's funny for lots of reasons to me. Okay. Shaders error loading instanced, basic instanced. What was the error? Shaders Genie res shaders basic instance dot vert basic instance dot frag. Oh, I didn't put an underscore. This is insanity. These are the things where you're like, I wrote the code wrong. Yeah, it's all string errors. Okay, basic instance loaded shader with ID 15. Pretty cool. And then what? So we need to do. Let's just close some tabs. Genie instancing. Do we set the this render batch procedures, init proc and bind proc. So this is where, what do you do here when you've got like 20, not 20, but say quite a few parameters, and you're like, this is too many parameters. Do you just make a lot of parameters? I guess it's not a lot compared to things like Vulkan, is it? Init proc, which is a procedure that takes in a pointer to a render model batch, and another one of these. Bind proc, and then we can set these render batch dot init proc equals, maybe we don't really need to store it. Depends on the language. Too many parameters usually mean the function is doing too many things. It can be split into multiple functions. The way I did it in the original one is I had a thing, another struct, which was like a specification, and then broke it, gave it like a bunch of defaults. So you create a spec, which was usually like the model and any options, and most things were using the main PBR thing. But yeah, I don't know. Bind proc, render in init bind functions, yes, and you could then call the render batch, but I'm not going to, because the init function right now doesn't need to be for anything, but the bind proc here kind of does. So we kind of got everything we need to know. So who's making this thing? Who is making this thing? Maybe in Genie models, I'll put, because we've got some of these funcs, model asset create. Let's do model basic instance bind. So what do we actually need here? We need a batch, which is a pointer to a render model batch. Well, this is not actually super helpful. Looking at this in Genie renderer, PBR, there is this PBR object init, which just sets these things, and the bind does what? It enables the shader, it binds the mesh, so this is per primitive, it's not per model, so this needs to be different, right? Dun 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 dun. Maybe this bind proc needs to go here. Why do we need a whole procedure for this? Oh, so we can do like render flags. Yeah. It's kind of for future reference. Dun 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 dun. It's from my game Potions. It's actually like stock music, but okay, so this thing, primitive, do they all have the same bind proc? Maybe. So this needs to then come in here. So we just prim.bindProc, which should do what we want it to do, which is this, and this needs to actually be a primitive. Render primitive. Dun, 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 dun. And we've got an error here. This is getting messy. These are the things that like I discovered doing the last one, getting, oh, I want to do this particular thing. So these are all things that I created via these particular things. Initproc, batch initproc. What's wrong with you? Oh, did I change the wrong one? This is render model batch. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, sometimes we need to make it so that then we can break it. Primitive. And that should then call this models thing and the primitive, and then we would say mesh bind prim dot mesh primitive mesh primitive dot VAO. Do we need to do anything else? We kind of need to do like how are we determining? I guess we could that mesh primitive is annoying, isn't it? Mesh primitive dot material dot albedo map does not equal nil. Then what is it? Texture bind. This is where like having these zeros, ones is like non-descriptive. These are all PBR things. So we will just do texture bind 0 the we'll just pull the mesh out here. Mesh equals primitive dot mesh primitive. And it could just really be mesh. Could just be called mesh. Mesh. Mesh dot. What am I doing here? Texture binding the. Oh, I've got this always on top thing on. Mesh.material.albedo map.id. And then we also set int to use the albedo map, but we don't have that currently, I don't think. We do have that. Maybe we'll set it. Set int, and the shader is the... We also have to get the shader, don't we? Mesh.material.mesh. We don't know what the primitive. I guess we can just go gshaders basic instanced. Dot shaders. Shaders map. Shader okay. Assert shader okay, otherwise could not get basic instanced shader. Shader, does that take a pointer? And the uniform name is use albedo map, and the value is 1. Okay. Man, I've heard so many videos and ads and things with this music on it. So where, if anywhere, I don't think we anywhere load a model anymore. I don't even know how to load a model. If I run this, okay, it doesn't crash. But if I go to the viewers, the model viewer, we don't load any models. So let's start by loading a model. Game init. Profile, how do you load a model? Let's say model genie.load model load load, and the source path is going to be, where are these models? They're in Genie. Copy path. Oh, I don't want that path, mate. Copy relative path. Source, Genie, res, models, test, not test model. Pine tree. Is that what it's called? Pine tree Genie asset. Okay, well, let's see what happens when we run this anyway. We go in here, we ask if the asset is current. It loads from the asset. Okay. Model viewer. Hey, there's our pine tree. Whoa, we can move around and everything. That kind of thing, like the tumbling and stuff like that. I didn't really like figure that out. Oh yeah. Yeah, buddy boy. The model viewer. And look how high tech it is. It's got like the texture viewer. And you can even check the bitmaps. The bitmaps. Base color, normal. And I even made the splitter for the metallic roughness. So metallic. I don't know why that's 1. B is metallic. I guess I could change those names. Yeah. Mesh 0. See, these are the mesh primitives. Okay. So we have a model, which is pretty cool. And then perhaps we want to, we've done model load, and then maybe we can say Genie dot render batch create, render model batch create, and we'll send it to, does this give us back a model? It does. Okay, so we can say pine tree. And don't worry about that. We know it's okay. We can send the pine tree. Instance flag equals that. And that should be around the instance flags. I guess we can say opaque. These aren't in use anywhere. Genie.opaque default flags. The init proc is nil, and the bind proc is model genie.model basic instance bind. Okay, let's step through this because we haven't actually run this function. Render model batch create. ID equals the ID 0 plus 1. Index equals 0. Append a empty model batch. Get the index, then get the render batch. Model is da. Set the model. Render batch model is the pine tree. Shader ID is the model dot shader ID. Does the model have a shader? Shader ID equals 0. We didn't actually set the shader. Bind proc, bloody blah blah blah, and then I just don't like bloody blah over that. Let's stop this and set Genie models game. I guess we can say pine tree dot shader ID equals. Oh, this is kind of messy. We could just having to set the shader basic instance equals genie.gshaders.shaders map basic instanced shader okay. If shader okay, I guess shader equals basic instance dot ID. So this is weird that the render batch does this. I mean, why would you save the shader if it's already got a reference to the model? But whatever. So we have a way to draw model batch, render model batch create, render instances create, render draw, but we don't have a way to add an instance. Render a draw, render a init. This is all really just basic stuff. Render instance add. So this is like, we need to know what one we're adding to. And this is where it's like, send me a batch handle. Render batch. Is that what it's called? Render batch handle. And I need some matrix, which is a map for, and say a color or tint, which is a color equals white. Something like that. Maybe there could be two ones where one is like, it just does it to the default batch. Most of the time you just want to render to the default batch, like trees. Do we need multiple batches of trees? Probably not. So we need to go get the batch. Batch okay equals g render batches dot. First we need the index. Index okay equals g render batches dot batches map with the batch handle. If not index okay, log error render batch doesn't exist. And put the batch handle. something and return, I don't know. The batch okay equals model batches, and we'll set the index. There's also something about like removing, but maybe we won't. Let's get this. What are you complaining about? Mismatch 2, okay. So we're just getting directly the batch. And I guess for prim in batch dot primitives, prim dot instances we want to append prim instances with a new render instance data that has the matrix and the tint. Valid code? Append. Okay, we construct one and we place it in there. Just need to be careful that like here batch state plus equals dot dirty and batch dot state minus equals dot buffered, right? Well, we just know it's dirty. We don't this render batch render clear render batch clear instances. Yeah, it's the same thing. Just type it again. Batch, which is a pointer to a render batch, render model batch, and for batch dot state plus equals minus equals dot buffered. We don't know if it's dirty or not. Maybe it is dirty. I don't know. For prim in batch dot primitives, clear prim dot instances. Maybe we'll add plus equals dot dirty. Put these after that's done that. This might be automated. Like there is a thing called like a static render batch which doesn't auto clear. I might just do it manually for now. So we run, and at the end of the frame, well, we don't want to do it like that, do we? We want to say in genie.odin end frame disable debug draw world space frame above. We do it, and then perhaps is it like here, or is it on begin frame? We could say render batch clear instances, and the batch I guess we can say render update instances or something like that. Render update batches. It could go like there or something. Genie render renderer and then for batch in g renderer dot g instance g render batches dot model batches clear render batch clear instances and send a batch. So this will just auto clear them. Renderer update batches. What did I just call that thing? Update instances. Okay. So technically, we should be able to now request Genie renderer draw. We set all the stuff for this is the draw commands. So instead we will say for batch in g render batches dot model batches render draw model batch and send in the batch. So that should then go in here and do this, should buffer them. We just need to make sure that we don't go over the size of, because we've set just a fixed size of like 64. Shader, enable shader. This we don't want to actually do here. We want that in the bind proc. That's one dumb thing about that is you can't like do that. It's all the way down here. But we need to shader shader enable shader. Okay. And it'll come through and draw elements, and so it's just going to work 100%. I did used to have some hectic function that would draw a bunch of random stuff. Let's just do like we camera update, we do the thing. Did we do our Genie shaders update? Shaders update. This is going to be a frame behind because we haven't calculated the camera position yet. Okay. So we need to, we could draw one. Here we'll test debug, test instancing, and put up here, there's a debug note here because this is also ugly. Instancing. Let's just say render add instance add, and the batch, this is annoying because we have to get the batch every time. Batch handle, we need to store it somewhere. We'll just store like a thing. Test render batch handle, which is a genie.render batch handle. This gives this back test batch handle equals Genie render model batch create. This gives us back a batch handle, which is going to be 0, right? Why format all this temp code? I don't know. Test render batch handle. And we'll set it at why don't we set it at map 4.0 or map 4.1, and the tint color is, we won't put a tint color. Will it work? Will we draw a thing? We don't know. We can't see it. If I generate a world and then clear it, there it isn't. Where's our tree? That's quite a lot of code to now be like, what is wrong? So we can check that we are rendering the model batches. 11 batch state, full batch primitive size equals size of instances is length 1. That seems good. We are using this named buffer sub data. Minus equals dirty for prim prime proc. We go in here, we get the primitive mesh. It has data. We got that. We bind the mesh. We enable the shader. We bind the texture. We set the int. Then we convert this GL triangles. Indices count is 495. Instance count is 1. Draw elements instance and bind 0. Perfect. Then we clear render draw commands. We swap buffers. Okay, debug. There could be some bugs in here with this matrix stuff. The model matrix is the thing. Are we doing this the right way around? View projection, the out frag position, the GL position, the model matrix, the thing. Okay, so instance vert takes the view projection, times it by the a blah blah blah. GL position, view projection. Bum, ba, da, ba, ba. Debug draw instance doesn't really do anything. The fragment shader takes the albedo, sets it some magenta color. Unless the tint color is wrong or something, but I don't imagine so. I feel like this might be a matrix issue. Is this a render doc thing, or is there something else I can do to debug? Let's just make it quick for 1.0, 0.0, 0.0, 1.0. Red. No red thing. We did add this thing that would make the shader do its thing in here. Are we getting here? We are. Val equals val. Location equals 2. Location equals 2. this one here. This here. Am I doing something wrong with the out frag position? I think. Are we using this frag position? No. So does this not matter? Oh, goodness me. Hang on, I'll just go to the bathroom real quick. Okay. So failure points could be the creation of the data. This buffer sub data. Maybe I'll just use these old ones just because I've used them before. I don't think that's going to make any difference. Generate clear. Still nothing. I might do a render doc and just see if there's some like clearly bad data going on. In order to do this, we are copying debug.exe. So just get the app daisy trains odin debug.exe. We launch. Let's generate and clear an F12 that bad boy. Core profile not explicitly requested. Okay. So color pass, geo clear, draw elements instanced. This guy. These are our lines, and then this is all IMGUI. So we have this thing here, and we look at the pipeline state of these A instance model color 1, color 2, color 3, color 4. That's 4 floats. Where's the A instance model? Why COL 0, 1, 2, 3, 4? Why are they floats? Mesh viewer. Oh, well, it seems to have the mesh. Vertex shader outputs. These are all zeros. That doesn't seem great. Visualization, solid color, flat shaded. Vertex shader in, vertex shader out gives us basically nothing. So something bad is happening in the GL position, I guess. This times A position. Debug draw instanced a position. That's a vertex position, right? So u view projection times the instance model, u view projection, u view projection. The GL position is u view projection times model matrix. Oh, yes. Vic4, it's a Vic4 a position, and one takes up 4 locations. Yes. This is the kind of thing where I'm like, hey, why? Hey, AI, why? Hey, AI, why? Oh, it looks like... Oh, sorry, I haven't been getting any chats. Where's the chats? I don't... Oh, sorry, I'm watching on YouTube on an iPad because I haven't got any chats for like... I thought you guys were just being all quiet. Music... Oh, right. Hello. Yes, Odin bit sets are really nice. Yo, we're back, kind of. We're back, but we're also kind of stuck. Oh, yes, we're back. Hello, sorry. Igor, good to see ya. Yui, good to see ya. I need your debugging prowess. Why am I getting zeros? Pipeline state, TCS, rasterizer. Fragment shader. U albedo map is also looks like 0. Fragment shader, no resource. Texture viewer also getting U material albedo map is nothing also. That's not good. So in here we're doing this. Use albedo map 1. Oh, do we need to actually like we bind it here? Is this working? Texture bind mesh material albedo map ID. ID 5, it's 1024 by 1024. Oh, is there like another command I'm missing? I think there's like a nah, I've only been going for an hour or so. Do I need to do this set int? Sometimes you do need to do this. And it is you. Oh, have I done a mistake? Yes, this is U material dot, and U material, these are inside a struct albedo map. And we set that is like, it's annoying to set it every time, but we'll just set those explicitly, see if we get anything. Generate clear, still nothing, but we could see if we're getting texture information in render doc anyway. Launch, no. Generate clear, 12, good. Color pass, gel clear, draw elements instance. Okay, now we're getting the texture. That's probably important. So we've got a texture, the pipeline state, the rasterizer, the fragment shader has an albedo map that we can see. but I think the problem is still in the vertex. Why are these floats? I keep being like, why are these floats? Mesh view. This is the VS in, and the VS out gives me nothing. Secondary. Wireframe highlight vertices. I feel like, yeah, we're going from here to 0. Text coords, all this stuff's good. At what point am I making the mistake? Mat for 1. Do we need to multiply this by anything? Is this like the model's internal thing? Do you update the instances VBO? This thing. We do the buffering here in the draw batch state thing. I think it's something to do with the the shader, Genie shaders, this shader cam view projection matrix. So what is that view projection matrix? Is it something? The value is 0.00000000000. Why is that? Debug draw. We're coming in here. We're getting this. The shader equals this. Look at a matrix. Cam. We're setting the camera, the view projection matrix. Log debug text camera view projection matrix cam dot view projection matrix. Camera view projection matrix. Okay, it's real. Shader set mat for U view projection cam view projection matrix. Okay. Then why? Is this gonna write a million of them? They all look like something. Bam, 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 ba, da. Why was it showing me 0? Is it just because it couldn't do it? Is it something to do with the way we're constructing this data here? So the size index, the size is the base. Index and the size is 4. Is this right? Is this right? Render objects. Where is the function that creates the render object? How do you read create render object? Depending on what method the binding is used, you might be setting the uniforms on the wrong program. This create this GLGen buffers. Okay, let's look at it side by side. We GLGen buffers, we create the thing. The stride is the size of the instance data. Space is location plus I. Location is 6. Did we did conform to that, didn't we? 4 floats. There could be a bug in here. Should we ask AI? Finally have to ask. I mean, looking at this though, yeah, this A position, A text chord. Oh, can I go through the? Okay, here we go. I can actually scrub these things. A text chord, A instance. Model COL1. What is col1, col2, col3? This looks like the 4vec4s for the matrix, but why is there no color attribute in there? That's another one. Let's do this. I don't think it's going to do anything. A uniform not set will be zeroed. Right. This tint color. But I believe, but this tint color is not even used. So tint color, A instance tint color. Why are these A instance model? A instance model. Why are they, what is col1, col2, col3, col4? A instance model. I'm at 4 as 4vec4s, yeah. Why is it notated as COL? Oh, column 1. Column 1. Okay. Because I call colors COL. Whoops. Okay. So it's definitely getting everything right on the input. But then should I just see if it's something in shader? So looking at this, can you see a bug that would result in a 0.0 GL position? Are they round the wrong way? UV projection uniform might not be set properly. Verify UV projection is being set, which would zero out all positions. Can we look at view projection in here? Can we look at uniforms? Resource inspector. Shader. Back buffer color. Shader thing. U there. Shader 82. Program 82. GL create shader source. Pipeline state. So we got a position, a tix chord, a normal, a tangent, a color not used. Can you show the shaders? Can you show how the shaders are created in Odin code? They're just created. I mean, the debug shader is being created, right? Check instancing attribute devices. Make sure 6.9 the map 4 have proper devices set to 1 for instancing. Verify a position isn't 0. This is the code that creates the instance primitives. Come on, man. Found the bug. Setting up the vertex attributes before binding the... Is this going to be one of those dumb bugs? In render primitive instance create, you're setting up the vertex attribute pointers before binding the VAO. However, later when you draw, you're binding the mesh VAO, but the instance VBO might not be bound to it properly if the VAO state wasn't captured. When you call attribute pointer, you need the instance VBO to be bound to GL array buffer at that moment. Mesh bind 0, which unbinds VO, then in render draw you're calling, but you never rebind the instance VBO. What? Oh, do we never actually bind it? That would be embarrassing. GL bind buffer. Looking at our original. And in renderer we have this draw. Oh, did I never write this buffer instance data GL bind buffer? Well, it kind of is doing it here, right? Is that it should be bound? Yeah, you're wrong, sir. So you went on a big tangent and you were wrong. This is where you get into AI, arguing with the AI, going, no, 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 you're wrong. That's not the problem. In render doc, I see a mesh on the vertex shader input, but all zeros on the GL position. Do I? Is that correct? Where is it? Vertex shader. Why do I now not see anything? Inputs, resource inspector, no mesh viewer. Oh, this. VS output. Okay, out V normal. Out. Oh, okay. There's more of them. That's cool. Out V tangent. Out bed. Tint color is 1111. That's good. Text chords are all good. Frag position is all good. But GL position, out color is 0. Out. Frag position is good. But GL position is all zeros. I do bind the VAO though, sir. It's like a kid just saying whatever it thinks. Yeah, I do this thing. It's called mesh bind, mesh VAO. Yes. This is the bind proc. Bind VAO before setting the attributes. Am I doing some mesh bind? GL gem buffers. What's the difference? It's bound at the top. Does it need to be rebounding? You're binding it before creating the VBO. Is that not how it works in the old method? Render object, create. Create object instance data. It works that way. I think it's wrong. I'm going to say it's wrong. What? And you want me to rebind it even though we did like 2 lines ago? I feel like you're wrong. If this works though, I'll be embarrassed. No, of course that's not the answer. Render doc shows uniforms. Under pipeline state and vertex shader bindings, it should be at the bottom. Under pipeline state, yes. In vertex shader, bindings should be at the bottom. Oh, uniforms. 1 variables. Oh yeah, view projection. It's 0. That makes sense. Is that view projection row 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So just to be clear, this is the view projection from the camera being printed there. Is this like a string error? Game. What is it? What am I actually calling this? In shaders, right? Shader basic instance cam equals core active camera. Debug text, we get that. View projection. Go away, you're useless. Basic instance, the vertex shader, view projection. View projection. And we're sending the camera matrix. And it's 0. We do debug text and we do see it. And we clarified that. Else, is this some problem with this? Debug text couldn't find location. I don't think we're getting here ever, are we? No. Are we doing it the wrong way around or something? Projection times model matrix. View projection times model matrix. Debug draw GL. You MVP, then we'll go down to wherever we do this Cube instances. Set mat 4. Shader, UV projection, cam dot view projection matrix. VO already has per vertex plus per attributes pointed bound. Doesn't seem like something I'd write. We bind the VAO and we draw the elements instance. It's not that blimmin' complicated, is it? Let's see we're not doing something dumb. So we bind the thing. It is probably a good idea to bind the buffer there. Dun 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 dun. Low battery. Dun 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 dun. I'm still confused. The question is, why is this view projection 0? Right? If I look at this one here, view projection MVP looks good. This is the arrow one. Let's do a launch app and launch. Don't save that. And just grab, because now we've got all these instances going. We'll just check that on here, got draw elements instanced on pipeline state. Uniforms variables, view projection looks delicious. This one looks awful. Is it something weird like where we are updating the camera, game camera update? Did we add the instance? And then we draw the model batch, but why are we getting 0? Model basic instance bind shaders basic instance update. Oh, this wants a pointer to a shader, and we're giving it a pointer to a shader. Shaders, update shaders. So the shader is this. Don't know why it, okay, this one does do it. The shader is a legitimate thing. It's ID this, it's uniforms, has 3 uniforms. Yeah, do it, man. Error. What is it doing? Is it writing me an error? Invalid operation. No error. See there, I'm like, and then, and what? Oh, GL get error returned invalid operation. False. I'm getting an error this whole time. What error? Call on this. Oh, how long is the log file? 105,000 lines. Okay, so it doesn't write it to the log, which is helpful. But we did get a log error that was GL get error return GL invalid operation on this. So there's something it doesn't like about this. This thing here where I'm like, the cam is a pointer. Well, can I say VP matrix equals cam dot view projection matrix? And then get this VP matrix and then send that. Is this something? So this is a bit of a bummer. Continue. VP matrix is good. Am I getting, okay, I'm getting GL, mega GL errors. What is the error? The error is that it doesn't like the value. This is this thing where, what if we sent it a pointer to a map for, which is weird. Now it's going to cause errors everywhere. Is set map 4 being called before the program is bound? Oh. I never bound the shader, did I? I never bound the shader. You're right. I never bound the shader. You're right. You're right. You're right. That would be a core part of shader basic instance update, wouldn't it? Shader bind shader.id. Shader enable. Of course, we'll have them. Shader. Dude. Tree. Who said that? Anthony Trotter. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, how good. Shader enable. Oh. That's where DCA style is help. You don't have to worry about binding anything ever. Okay, so in game we can for what's 64? What's 64 like? 32. For 64 lines. Wait, for how many? I just want to make a bunch of them. For x in 0 dot dot less than what is the, like, what is the number I'm looking for? 8 times 8. Yeah. For x in thing, for z in 0, 8. XF is a transform. Is this okay to do this? XF dot position equals x times, oh, my brain does not want to do this, spacing equals 1.0 x times spacing position equals rec 3. That is x times spacing 0.0 and f32 of z times spacing. And matrix equals transform to matrix of XF, and then render add an instance of the matrix. Is this going to do anything? I don't know. Generate. Ooh. Who caused the exception? Get component index. Get transform. Transform to matrix. Oh, I'm using these functions. I guess I can use this local to matrix, because this actually looks for parents and things that don't exist. Where did they go? Is this all going to be like xf dot scale equals rec3 1? Hey, there they are, the little buddies. Yes, the instances. Yes, the instances. Let's go. Maybe we'll make them size 2, and then in our little instancing. So we set a base of 64, but let's do like 1024, and then in game, how do you say you wanted to say count equals 1024? And then it's not half the count, hey, it's, what's the math to derive? What are we trying to get? We're trying to get the what times 2 is 1024. 6 times 2, 512 times, it's not that, it's what by what equals 1024. You know what I mean? 128 times 128, that's a big number. It's like 64 times 64, 4096, 32 times 32, 1024. Okay, what is that thing called maths-wise, maths people? And spacing can be, maybe we'll make spacing half and 1, and we could minus the total, but I'm not going to bother with that. Square root. Oh my bad. Whoa, there they are. Zhur, zhur. Tree land. And we're like taking half a millisecond. Half a milli to do that. That's kind of cool. I mean, instancing, you can do a ton, right? So we'll go to this, launch, debug. We'll just have a look at it in all its glory. And go to our pass and see draw elements instanced. Outputs. There they draw all in one go. Lovely. Whereas these lines are like a draw call each. Draw elements and then draw elements instance. It draws like all these guys. And then draw elements instance. It draws all the outlines. I love it, eh? So how does I am Dewey draw its text? Whoa, it just drew that whole panel in one draw call. Pretty cool. So it must use some form of batching. Pretty cool. Oh, cancel. Let's make this. What's a big number? 100,000? Can you write like that, eh? And so we want to say square root. What do I call that? Base equals. Is there a math dot square root of count? It's like, I don't know what it is. Base. Before I do this, I might just double check. Ding, 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 ding. Count base is 316.22. Doesn't seem right. Well, we kind of want it to be an integer, eh? Oh yeah, it is kind of. It is kind of. This actually we want to be an int. And we'll say floor. Do we need a math dot floor? Or put perhaps round. Maybe we'll just do like that. Floor of type F32 to int. Cast it, my good squire. Cast it, my squire. Base. Dude, base is 3.316.22. It's an integer. How in the holy heck does that work? But did it not build? It built. 316. Okay. Continue. Oh, now it's struggling. Taking 32 milliseconds. That's quite a lot of trees. Okay. Is there any difference? Probably part of the reason is just having to do all this. If we take it off debug mode, will it make a difference? No. If we put it on release mode, it probably won't make a difference either. 100,000 is a big number. Is it though? Oh, whoa. See, there you go. Now it's down to 7 milliseconds or 100 frames a second. So the biggest bottleneck is actually the what's it called? The buffering of the instances every frame. So something like this that's static, we could do this up here when we create the thing. Can I put using Genie up here? And then in the Genie renderer thingy-mabob, we would just not clear. We won't clear this. Is this going to do something horrific? Now frame time 2 milliseconds to draw 100,000. Yeah. Man, they go on forever. But they can't move. Man, they actually go on forever. There's so many. Where's the tree that hides the forest? I can't see the forest. Man, it's still going. So yeah, this is the idea around things like grass and cargo containers and trees and stuff, is that for the large majority of frames, they don't need to be rebuffered. So like the trees get loaded, boom, and then they don't get buffered until you load the level. So they're just in there. And the grass blades and, you know, whatever. For the cargo containers, you have them on a thing that only buffers when it gets, like, well, the grass will buffer, but only when you change the state of the grass. Like you put a rail piece down, then it'll go, let's recalculate all the things, which only takes, you know, a millisecond. But as long as we're just not doing it every frame, you wouldn't notice it. Quite like this flat shading. There's a bit of like ambient occlusion baked into the textures. Tools, model viewer, model viewer. Selected model. What happens if I change this? Oh, this is just in here. One. Cool. Cool. Okay. Cool. Notes. Shader, update funk. Yes. Instance, batch, bind, draw some trees. Done. Good. What was our bug? We didn't bind the shader. That was a freaking hole in one. Anthony Trotter. Need more trees. Done. We did this, and it took us about 2 hours. 0204 and 00 hours. I need a renderer. Lining in, mate. It's good to actually see a thing happen. Oh well, there's why do these things Pando, nearly 47,000 trees that are in fact the same one. What? Say what does that mean? What? I'm gonna look that up. What time are we at? 1:28. Perfect. Oh, I just feel like we're back where we were. Instance management. We do have this. Instance management really is like the systems of auto buffering things, or detecting when do I want this thing cleared. Please clear it at the end of the frame. And then if I make a change, then rebuffer it. And then we also need this debug draw ensure capacity, we need to make dynamically resizing GPU data based instance bases. Yeah. Cool. What's a lot of numbers? What's like 300,000 trees? What's too much for the game? 300,000. And we'll put them like more on top of each other. And make them even smaller. And make the thing even smaller. 300,000. Whoa, dude, man. Hundred and something frames per second. So many trees. That's 300,000 trees. No culling. You could do something like scale equals rand range. Was it rand dot range f32? Do I have rand up here? Import core math. Is it rand? We don't really need OpenGL here. Go forward. Rand range float 32 range between, we need a vic3 of rand float 32 range of 0.2 to 0.5. Yeah. Zook zook. How long did this take to do? 200 milliseconds. Is 100 milliseconds a second? Ding. 300,000. We're still on VSync, kinda. Just under VSyncs. Oh wait, that doesn't look like 300,000. Oh yeah, it's just that they're smaller. Yeah. Cool. Overhead. The big pando. Alrighty. Well, thanks for joining and sticking around on this hectic in and out. A lot of groundwork, but pretty sweet that we've got a renderer. Some automated-ish batching, this sort of thing. How could you make this nice? The model doesn't really want to know about a shader because the model is just loaded. It doesn't care what shader it uses. Anyway, clean all that up. 47,000 trees. Alrighty, I will catch you on the next one. Actually, I think shader and a model are tightly coupled. Yeah, but like... Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, no, you're right, aren't you? Yeah, you're right, aren't you? Yeah, you're right. Yes. Okay. We'll think about that. Beauty. Next time, I don't know. We'll figure something out. We'll do that. It's pretty good to make those like non-auto updating sort of static versus dynamic batches. Ones that don't auto update and then ones that do, because like the trains are going to be moving every frame. So they need to always be clearing their data. Yeah. All right. We'll see you on the next one. And yeah.